What's up, world, and welcome back to the Global Frequency. I am your host, Nefarious, and with me, as always, is Adam Lawson, and this is Rebel Frequency. Before we get into the book we're going to be talking about this week, Adam, why don't we catch the audience up on what it is we've been getting at the stores? You want to go first?
Yes. So first of all, if anybody didn't get this, you should. I know it's sold out most places. This is the Exile. This is a quick look at all the cool covers. This is the A cover, Rob Willis. We got the Calero cover, the Preston Acevedo cover. This is epic. This toy homage cover. Here we go. The Jim Mafood cover, which I love. We got Drew Moss here. Obviously the Esquivo cover. We got Tony Kent and the Kyle Hotz cover. This one kind of expensive to get because I printed so few of them. I bought it from Midtown Comics because not even I get a copy of it. But it's rad. And then the ultimate of all ultimate covers is the Boss Logic cover. But that's $1,000. I didn't get that one of those, but they're signed by Wes.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so that's a rad thing. And then another amazing thing that came is Kids and Monsters. So I just delivered this book. People have been waiting about 8 months, going on maybe getting close to a year here with this book. It's, there's both a black and white and color edition of the book. It's oversized because you can see here's like a standard comic. So it's a big boy. And it's incredible lines by Maxie Dallow. Great colors by the legendary Mike Spicer. And we've been getting some fabulous feedback already from those who backed it. Tons of positive reviews, shout outs, etc. So if you missed it, I'm gonna have a few left over, and I'm gonna throw them up out on Twitter and Instagram to say, hey guys, and I'll probably have like 20 copies to sell off in case you want to grab it.
I think people should grab it. I enjoyed the heck out of this book. I feel like it was sort of like a younger, all ages version of Murder Falcon. It was something else, man. It was a lot of fun, this read.
Dude, thank you for that, because I feel like, sometimes when you get your buddy's book, you don't know what you're going to think, right? And you got to be honest about it. And, I read Mavericks for anybody who hasn't read it, but I'm sure if you're watching the stream, you probably have. This is some Robotech level stuff here that Neff put together. This is a heck of a story that I think anybody collecting indie books should get in on. So,
well, I'm used to liking your stuff, though. Like with the Eighth Kill Journal, I'm used to liking it. So I expected to like Kids and Monsters, and when I got it, I was very satisfied because it's a little bit tonally different than what I'm used to from you. I'm used to like horror and violence and blood, and like this was, like I said, it felt a lot like Murder Falcon, which is real emotional victory in my opinion.
And that's what it should have been, and that's what I wanted it to be, was to have that. It was a different ride, a different experience that could touch you in that way. So I hope it did it. It sounds like it's doing it for most folks. It did for you, Neff. So there's going to be a volume 2. There's going to be a board game. So more to come. And then the last rad thing I read this week was Little Red Ronin. This is from Source Point Press, which is Garrett Gunn and Cullen Buns. This book is so great. So Garrett Gunn did this book called Good Boy. Great. It's like John Wick, but if the dog was the one who was the hitman, right? And then I picked up Little Red Ronin. It even topped that. It's Kit Wallace, whose art I freaking love. I mean, these pages for me are just sensational. What Kit does. Amazing lettering by David Lentz, who's actually lettering a book for me now because I was so impressed with this. So Source Point Press, dude, pick this one up. If you're going to only grab one, grab this one. It is something else.
I actually was considering picking up Red Ronin. It wasn't there when I went to the store, but I heard about it. The John Wick in reverse, Good Boy, that looked like a really interesting book on the stands.
Yeah, so
I have to pick up the back issues.
I feel like we need to there's a volume 2 of Good Boy. I feel like there's Warcorns, which I got from Garrett Gunn, all Garrett Gunn. I feel like we need to do an episode where we just hear Garrett's work because he's such a cool guy. And his like anthropomorphic stories, right? It's dogs, it's unicorns, it's in Red Riding Hood, their animals is just sensational. So I think maybe the last thing to touch on, for anybody who was following our Something Is Killing the Children, I picked up House of Slaughter. I haven't dove into it yet. And then there's this company called Mad Cave, which keeps hitting me up on my Instagram ads.
Oh, Nottingham.
I picked up Nottingham and started volume 1. This is incredible, an amazing retelling, something we should probably get into.
Art is gorgeous. The art is so good in that. It's so
just
smooth.
Incredible. Just incredible. And then the last thing maybe to talk about is this Phantom Road from Jeff Lemire from Image. I just picked up issue 1. I always love to see what Jeff Lemire does because can really deliver some amazing stories. As we know, and then The Last Ronin, The Lost Years. If you didn't read the Lost Ronin book, you should. Last Ronin, it's incredible. These Lost Years, this is the story that picks up. There's a flashback in that trade, and this expands that. So I just grabbed issue 1 on both of these. If I love them, I'll grab the trades when they come out.
I have issue 1 of The Lost Years, Last Ronin.
Oh,
so
you got it
about
too.
that. Oh yeah, it's upstairs.
Yeah.
I already read it. I have mixed thoughts about it, but we
Okay.
could talk about it at some point. It'd be great. I'm going to go real quick. I've been reading Nemesis. It is violent. It is explosive. There are splash pages every couple of pages. There's just crazy action. And Mark Millar is not pulling any punches here. Mark Millar is giving you heads on plates. He is executing people, in the streets. He's really going all out here. And I wasn't really ready for it at first, but I'm very pleasantly surprised at how hard this is hitting. Then crazy fun ride. I'm reading Tankers. Tankers from Bad Idea. A lot of fun. Just explosions and dinosaurs and just a great ride, very enjoyable. Crowdfunding, I picked up Drumsticks of Doom. I got Loose Threads from Mark Polton. Finally got my hands on Fatal, and of course Kids and Monsters. And then I got this weird book. I'm probably gonna get crap for it, but I picked up Hans Christian Andersen's The Shadow. And this is an AI art book. This was one of the first ones, one of the first comics that came out before the whole you can't copyright AI art got into the news. And I wanted to see what the AI was capable of. And you and I should talk a little bit behind the scenes because eesh, bro. it's not great. It is not great. But that's good news for us artists, right?
Yeah, it is. I mean, it gets better every day, and maybe that's a topic for another time. Because of what that sort of the door that sort of opens, right? Well, I want to share one last thing also as well. So this is last thing I got was Can't Kill Cade issue 4, and I love Spencer. And now Jeff Elkins picked up where Kevin Castriano left off. He did issues 3 and 4. If you can see these colors, the letters, everything about this looks rad. And it's just more massive, over the top, crazy violence and fun. And so now I wanted to touch on this a little bit. It's because Spencer is a buddy. So is Peter Simeti is a buddy. Over at who runs Alterna, and they've done the first 3 issues of Can't Kill Cade, which I loved. There was Alterna, and then I guess there was a falling out between Peter and Spencer. But I'm starting to see this across our comic book spectrum that people were rock solid. There are rumblings, that all is not well in Zion. IDW is not accepting any more new pitches or any new material. Aftershock went out of business, $4 million in debt, and Maxie, who did Kids for me, and Valentina, who's coloring Exile for me, they're all owed money by Aftershock that they'll never get. And you can see there's a pretty massive, implosion happening all across the business, and just in general. And so it's either an exciting time for somebody who can come up with something new, or it's a scary time if you're attached to one of those rocket ships that are going out of business. But I will say that I think the summation of all of that is being connected to your own audience, having your own means of production is kind of the one thing that can save you along the way. And I think that publishers can be really wonderful. Whatnot's been great with us in The Exiled, but things can go south, and the model is really rough to make money out of, etc. So I don't know what that means for the future exactly, other than unless there is two changes. One is both a cultural change, and two, a means of receiving it, like the way we get our comics changes. I can't imagine the industry growing anymore. Because unless we can culturally change how we perceive them, how people read them, the places they experience them, the sociality around them, and then the way in which we get it to people, right? Because are somewhat connected, right? It can't change. Just it can't change, and hopefully though, I know there's a lot of places like Mad Cave that are vying for their place in this world. And so how that's going to lay out, I don't know that answer. Now, maybe you have some insight too.
Well, yeah, I think the first thing that you said that's very significant is that comics culture, if we can call it that, because you remember back in the day we would go to the comic shop. I would go to St. Mark's. I'd go to Midtown. We would hang out there for hours after school on the weekdays, or we would go down on the weekends and spend like the afternoon at the comic shop, hanging out with people, talking comics, reading comics, buying Image, buying Valiant, and enjoying ourselves. I don't know if that's so much of a thing. I'm not sure a lot of people are really socializing. When we go to our LCS, we don't see very many people. We'll spend 45 minutes there, and maybe one or two people will come through, pick up their box, and just leave. There's no like culture to it. And I also think that we're pretty divided. There are some people who really like one thing, and others who really like something new and different. And there really isn't a whole lot of cross pollination in the middle. It's one of the reasons that talking about the new stuff like we are is so important, I think, because it's drawing people's attention to, hey, there's ongoing things that are worth reading. But there are still some books out there that, people are, they're going to argue about. And I think that that's kind of dividing the culture in a way that I haven't experienced before.
No, I agree. The culture war, it isn't going to help it in
Right.
any way. And unfortunately, what's the frustrating part about it is Marvel and DC, who have nothing to lose, right? Because they're owned by Disney and AT&T Discovery. They have nothing to lose in print. These are multi-billion dollar operations, and print is an embarrassment to them financially.
The cost of producing one movie is more than the annual budget at Marvel Comics.
Yeah, it's not even a thing. And Bob Iger's coming in, and he's going to crunch budgets and slash because everybody's hurting in the entertainment industry. And so I think what's happened is those people who are now writing and working for those two, they can make a mess because they don't have to make a living selling comics, because they don't. Because Marvel and DC Comics aren't funded by comic sales.
Right.
They're part of a corporate umbrella, and they have budgets assigned to them. And so as a result, they have no risk. And so they can fuel culture wars, which are divisive, hurt the little guy, and separate the community because they don't have anything to lose, because they're not actually living in it, and they don't actually have to experience the financial consequences of those kind of choices. And I've been saying it, I think, for the last couple of years, is that Marvel and DC Comics are the worst thing that has ever happened to American comics. They've turned them only into superheroes, and then they've fueled a culture war. They've monopolized distribution. All they've done over the decades with Diamond to push all the little guys out. All that they've done as far as merchandising and etc., they've just consumed. Unlike when you think about when comics early on, comic books, I think Prince Valiant was a comic in the newspaper, right? That had meaning, right? There was a time in which it wasn't all soups. And in Europe and in Japan, it isn't all soups. And in a way, these two just corporate consumers were just made a mess of an industry that it didn't even matter if they lost it because of where
Right.
they are financially. And
And
so it's a bit of a
they
shame.
have like two whole cabinets of floor space at my LCS. It's all of the indie stuff and then Marvel and DC. And could you imagine if Marvel and DC were pushed into just one cabinet together, how much more room there would be on the wall in the cabinet for smaller indies to
Totally.
get sales in stores. That's kind of where I'm frustrated. It's because those books
Yep.
aren't doing it for the comic book culture, bringing
Yep.
people
They're doing
together, things that
nothing.
are interesting.
Nothing. Yeah.
It's not doing anything. And the rest of us are, like you said, trying to figure out how to go about it. And there are these publishers like Aftershock that are falling apart, and they're not going to be able to hold their space on the shelf. So it's a very scary idea, to get into publishing right now. Personally, I think self-publishing is the way to go. You can know your budgets, you can figure out, your overhead, you can put out your books, but the hard thing is getting the return on the investment there.
It's almost
Finding
impossible.
shelf space is going to be very hard. Getting into Lunar or Diamond or any other distribution, if you want to sell in stores, that's a trick that you're going to have to pull. Signing with a regular publisher who has distribution, that's definitely an easier way, but there's always the concern that publisher isn't going to be solvent at the end of the year, right? And then what happens to your contract?
No, and that's the case. And so and because it's a niche world that kids have stopped consuming, except for manga, really. Manga has won because they stayed very faithful. They made things easily digestible and consumable. They created culture and hangout around it and socializing, and they didn't dive into a culture war. It's just not present there. So one of the many reasons why they're winning. That being said, I think that's I'm what I'm waiting for is for somebody to start building the no capes allowed comic chain, which is also a boba shop and has couches in it and has rice balls, and you can come and hang out and have a snack and hang out with your friends and read. But
let me know when that starts up. I'll come visit.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that's what's needed. So I think what we're talking about today is Arc Athena. I think we're just going to hit this one book, right, Neff?
Yeah, just this one book, because there's 3 books to talk about in one book, right?
Yeah.
So,
and in full disclosure, I should say I'm buddies with Eric Canete, who is the writer and creator, and he is a fabulous human, of the best guys around, of the most disciplined artists, and his art is just a 10 in general, right? He's a fabulous creator. I'll say that up front. Eric, no matter what happens with these or these things, Eric is lovely, right? Yeah, so I think, I mean, if you want to give us the catch up on it, about what Arc Athena is, feel free. Yeah, I know you.
So
you just
Athena is a book about a world where superheroes are social media influencers. There are 2 sides to superheroing in the future. There is like the public face side, which makes everyone feel like they're safe. They're the global protectors. And then there's like the down and dirty superhero team that takes on like the really nasty stuff, and they don't really get a lot of press. So Arc Athena is the pretty people, and Arc Poseidon is, the superhero team that's always getting its hands dirty. And so the book is kind of about the relationship between the two, because it comes down to Stivana, who is the brand new leader of Arc Athena, because they keep rotating the roster, or as the people
Divana.
in charge like to say, refining the roster. And for Arc Poseidon, it's Grizzle, and they couldn't be more different, but they actually have history going back like 6 years being superheroes together.
So Divina here, our cover girl here, is showing the white and purple, and then a rad art page, and Paratelli, the colors, I think, is killing it on this with all this great use of purples.
And then you got Grizzle right here. Yeah. I don't know if they have like a whole breakdown. They have the little bubble that they're in, but I don't know if that's the best image to try and pick out.
Some more images of Grizzle here. You can see him there.
He breaks down who's on their team while they're in the middle of the fight, which I like. And if you notice, like, he talks about what they can do and what they mean to the team. And when Arc Athena is getting its little introductory breakdown, it's what their job is outside of the team, how many followers they have, and why they're famous. So it really is about the dichotomy between these two sides. But long story short, they go out on a mission to fight these fish people who are taking over an oil rig, and Arc Poseidon, takes care of like the serious threat underwater. Arc Athena kind of bungles the PR op up top. People get hurt. That causes a rift between Grizzle and Divana. And it turns out that the fish people are aliens. They've come here looking for the sister of the alien leader,
Yeah.
and the humans have taken her hostage. So that sets off an invasion where she kidnaps members of Arc Poseidon to try and find out where where her sister is. And book 3 is all about the crap hitting the fan and this crazy invasion. So like it's really underway, and we're getting to the point in time where we're going to have to see these people really step up and be great rather than be social media influencers, because Arc Poseidon, serious team, has been taken captive by the aliens. That's my spoilery sort of synopsis.
Totally. I think that and I think as you're explaining it there, it's somewhat complex. And here I think is the greatest struggle with this book, because everything about it says I should love this. The lines, the colors, Eric. It's like, why isn't this thing just rocking my world? I'm going to show you one image that explains it. This is the opening to volume 3. This is an entirely new team of people with their names announced. This is the 3rd time that's happened in 3 books. The amount of characters, powers, diversity of equipment is so great that nobody means anything to you. Grizzle is the only character and Divana a bit, but Grizzle is the only one, particularly, book 3, we get a little bit more out of him. You just have no connection to anything. And it's really painful. And I thought, well, listen, book 1 and 2, we set up a lot of teams, we set up a lot of stuff, and that we were going to focus in on book 3 and really start getting into these characters, right? Because it's 6 in it. And then when book 3 opens with an entirely new team, you're like, oh my gosh. We're talking about tracking 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
You don't have to. You don't track them. They die within the next 2 pages.
That's right.
So that's what you're seeing is Eric has got a brilliant imagination for creating heroes. I love how original they are. They've all got different interesting powers. They all come from different places.
Totally.
He gives you just a little bite about them, and I want an entire series about this one guy that you introduced, right? Like the old dude with the gauntlets and the old gods that he that control his life force. I'm like, give me an entire miniseries about him, but I see him for 2 pages. It's tough.
I agree. And that's what I keep feeling about this story, is that it's not moving as well as you want, because we're just so disconnected. And this sister that's been kidnapped by the humans, the stakes of that are so abstract, because they've got the sister and the aliens are coming, but she isn't necessarily like Grizzle's wife or like Divana's girlfriend or something like that, where it's emotionally tied into these characters. And so you end up, like what you're saying, with these really unbelievably great designs, right? Eric's got these incredible designs.
Concepts,
and you're like, dude, I agree. This is this great moment with Arc Poseidon, right? Arc Poseidon, which, right, you see Grizzle over here. Here's the old man with the gauntlets. Here's our cool alien bug guy. It's rad that's on the team. It's like, if that was all they were, just those 3 dudes, and book 1 or book 2 or whatever was just them, and there was a way we could settle into them because their design is so great. And I agree with Divana and Grizzle, we're this far in and we know it's their relationship, but we aren't necessarily emotionally taken into their struggle.
We got a taste in volume 3. We got the flashbacks.
We needed that. I needed something in volume 3 to be like, please tell me we're going to emotionally tie these people together.
that was a cool thing in volume 2 when the aliens were going around trying to find who could lead them to the sister. They were encountering members of Arc Athena, and they were like, nah, irrelevant. They were hunting the members of Arc Poseidon and finding them because those are the real heroes. I thought that was cool that Eric hammered that home. But there's, I think, like you said, so much going on. The stakes are so big. It kind of almost reminds me of Graveyard Shift 4.
Yes, that's exactly what I feel like. Arc Athena and Graveyard Shift, they both those series suffer from. There's incredible concepts in here. There's really cool things. There's great freaking art, and then we just are tossed by this storm of sort of endless character introductions.
Lots of characters want to show off our cool roster, but giving page space to that roster kind of deprives the reader of the page space necessary to connect to the principal characters.
That's what I feel. Yeah.
I still think that it's worth going with Arc Athena. I don't know what it is, man. Maybe I just can't quit Eric Canete. I don't know what it is.
I mean, here's the thing. And when I say that is that we're talking about a high level book here. It's not like this is a failed book. It's not entertaining. Don't read it. That's not what we're saying. What we're saying is that this book is good, but boy, it's just like it's like just to the left of great. It could be a great book, and I think that's what I'm saying with it. You should read it. You should read it. You should enjoy it. It's just and granted, there's still 3 volumes left, and that may change.
He's made it very easy for you to get in on it too. The 3rd issue, he ran a special for the first 48 hours on the Iconic site where it was only $10.
Yeah,
and you can't say no.
I'm good at getting the hardcovers, but are you
this one was was $10 on the Iconic site.
Oh,
and I can't say no to that. If he keeps setting up the right price point for a book this quality, I'm not even talking about like, the story is one thing, the art's another thing. I'm talking about like the physical quality, hardcover, spot gloss, really nice pages, good bindings. Like if he's giving us a price point low at $10 for something like this, I'm still riding this wave, man. Come hell or high water, I want to finish this.
And you see this even here too, what they've done. People might not notice this very much. You see that this is a sewn binding.
Yep, sewn in.
Versus a glue binding. And I know this is when Iconic took up. That's even more expensive to get. So for 10 bones, I can't believe that.
Yeah. It's gotta be... Sewn in bindings are the way to go because they allow you to open the book even wider and flatter without worrying about cracking the spine. Also just improving the quality in general.
And Iconic is I think they're a small publisher that's doing really cool things, and they built an amazing online business, and I totally back it. So that's Arc Athena. That's Eric Canete's great work. There's more to come on it. I think it's worth stepping in and hoping that these emotional arcs really can start landing over the next volumes.
The thing is, it's the thrill ride. He's so invested on taking us on the bus that won't go below 70 miles per hour that we need those moments, those bring it down moments that you talk about all the time where we connect to the character, because then it makes the ride that much more significant. But thank you, everybody, for tuning in. That's all the time we've got for you today. If you like the content, please click the like button and subscribe, the bell for notifications to find out when we go live next, and tune into the frequency. We'll see you next time. Bye.